The mechanism the Wand Tonearm Series B uses to mount in your turntable, whether it's a wand or something else, is that there's two screws that are accessible down the middle of the mounting when it's packed in its central position, and these locate into a clamp mechanism underneath that obviously you wind these screws up and it pulls up to clamp on whatever thickness of turntable you've got. These holes here, arm pivot, LP spindle, where you park the arm for a start, and you can even use that drill through if you've got a virgin arm board or something. One of the first things I'm showing you how to do the vertical tracking angle, set the height. So this protractor has markings for level, where the step is, down 2 degrees, up 2 degrees. So what we do is we park this on the platter, and it already takes account of record thickness. We park that over there. We can see that it's just above level, which is probably a good place to start. If you go up 2 degrees, that's Michael Freeman makes a good argument for why that's a good place to be. So using this universal hex spanner, we just loosen that off there, and that lets you raise or lower the whole assembly. The other thing though, when you loosen that off, you have to be a bit aware that lets you alter where the arm parks. Tighten that back up when you've got to the place you want to be. Next we're going to set up the balance of the cartridge. The Wand Tonearm is slightly unusual in that it's effectively a variable weight, and that we provide these plates which go on, give you coarse adjustment of weight for different cartridges, and it means you can go from very light to very heavy. You can stack a whole lot of these on. I have tried to make it easier more recently by changing the rear weight arrangement. This is a major part of the Series B Tonearm, so that you can see easier what you're doing. So as standard, we ship it with one square and one round plate. I just happen to know that this Hana EL is super lightweight, so I've only put one square plate on it. I've actually also put a weight in the head shell. Now, if you need to put more of these on or take them off, you just use the universal screwdriver to unscrew that, take those off, slide it off, and put another plate on or remove it or whatever. We'll put the Tonearm on now. Putting the Tonearm on, one of the important things is because it's a uni-pivot Tonearm, you've got to be a bit careful that the wire doesn't push the arm around. I like to just make sure it's got any stresses out of the cable. Pull the protective cap off, and then it just, if you look down there, there's a ball, and that just sits on this cup arrangement here, which is, it's a lot more rigid than a traditional uni pivot, which is often a tiny little spike sitting in a cup. In actual fact, I would say it's more rigid than so-called conventional bearings too, because they jitter at the sort of modes where music is playing. So yeah, we just put that on there, put it into the arm clip. Now on this particular turntable, I've put a grey plastic moulding on the side here, so that it's easier to see. The production ones are black, but it just means it's easier to see how I'm going to do this sort of sleight of hand with the wire. I'll turn it around there. So the technique I find is that this purple bit goes in there, and then you just arrange that like that. and that creates a nice loop that's not pushing things around. There are 2 wire clips on the tonearm for then retaining it further. You can push it into that one under there at the back, and or this one there. Let's check the weight of where we've got to for a start. Taking the stylus guard off. I'm using a digital scales here. This set's okay. I don't like 90% of the ones that are out there because they're quite unreliable, and people get all hung up about, oh, it's got 2 decimal places, but they're not remotely accurate to that generally. But it's easier to see for a video purpose. Personally, I really like the Shure mechanical stylus gauge, but they're not made anymore. So I'll just use the lowering lever to lower it onto that. So 1.7 grams, it's a bit light. So we'll just wind this in to make it fractionally heavier. 1.9, just going a little more. 2.03, that's fine. The Hana EL is supposed to be 2 grams, and at the end of the day, there's a good 20% tolerance in production for cartridges, and you really have to do around what the manufacturer specifies to see what really works for you and your system and how worn it is and all those sort of things. You can then, if you like, just tighten these 2 weights together to lock them. The whole point of having all these having the weights that you can extra stack on is to minimize the rear counterweight, which has vibration potential. So part of the design ethos of the tonearm is to have as much weight as possible in this central body that holds the bearing, so it acts really as a virtual earth or a vibration sink, if you like, for the arm vibrations. Helps make the whole thing more stable too. So yeah, it's not just a whim that these are there, it is actually part of the design ethos. But with the Series B Tonearms, I've tried to simplify the arm so that it's a lot clearer as to what's going on. Then pretty much you're ready to go. Plug it in, make it work. Earthing, turntable earthing. With moving coils, you probably don't even have to do that. Might be worthwhile. Moving magnets tend to pick up more hum. So if you have an earth problem, I suggest you try earthing the tonearm cable to the amplifier, and then later on you can try and earth the turntable itself if you need to.